Merci beaucoup. Je suis très heureuse et très honorée de vous souhaiter la bienvenue à ce second congrès international Transition vers l'école, équité, qualité et innovation dans l'enceinte de l'OCDE. Il est organisé par les membres du comité de pilotage qui se sont réunis autour de l'association Ensemble pour l'éducation de la petite enfance que j'ai la chance de présider. C'est une grande famille qui se réunit aujourd'hui, la famille autour de l'enfant, autour des préoccupations de l'éducation, une grande famille de plusieurs pays. Et vraiment, je trouve que l'ambiance était déjà très chaleureuse tout à l'heure. Et nous allons passer deux belles journées. Je tiens à remercier tout particulièrement leur présence exceptionnelle aujourd'hui de son Excellence Jamila bin Salem Al-Moairi, ministre d'État pour l'éducation générale aux Émirats arabes unis, Madame Ekia Parata, qui était ministre de l'Éducation en Nouvelle-Zélande, Madame Geneviève Avenard, qui est défenseur des enfants, adjointe du défenseur des droits à la République française, Monsieur Olivier Noblecourt, qui ne va pas tarder à venir nous rejoindre, délégué interministériel à la prévention et à la lutte contre la pauvreté des enfants et des jeunes, Mesdames les élus des villes de Nancy, Le Havre, Bordeaux, Metz, Arras, Brest, Dole, Saint-Malo, Rennes, Montpellier et d'Île-de-France, dont Versailles. L'honorable Margaret Norrie McCain, qui était lieutenant-gouverneur du Nouveau-Brunswick au Canada. Madame Stefania Giannini, qui est sous-directrice générale de l'UNESCO pour l'éducation. Et je voudrais adresser un remerciement tout particulier à Madame Gabriela Ramos, directrice de cabinet du secrétaire général de l'OCDE et Sherpa pour le G20, pour son chaleureux accueil au sein de l'OCDE pour ce deuxième congrès international autour de l'enfance. Et c'est vraiment un privilège pour nous de pouvoir organiser cette grande rencontre. Vous êtes près de 400 pendant ces 2 journées de conférences venus de 34 pays. 34 pays, ça c'est un défi. Membres de délégations ministérielles et de pays avec une délégation très importante du Québec et du Canada, et ainsi que de la Colombie. Vous êtes élue française, professionnelle de la transition éducative des réseaux autant publics que privés, des représentants engagés de la société civile, 62 experts conférenciers et modérateurs de renommée internationale et nationale, d'horizons complémentaires, dont une grande majorité de femmes, des membres de fondations œuvrant dans l'éducation, et 16 étudiants représentant leurs écoles. Enfin, un grand témoin de l'investissement social, qui est Alberto Ligi, président directeur général de la fondation Novak Djokovic. Un trio de professionnels de terrain, Méline Dutriévos-Boyer, Raphaël Meliado et Yannick Uziancia, que nous présenterons un petit peu plus tard dans la journée, et les journalistes qui nous accompagnent et que nous saluons. Voilà Madame Gabriela Ramos qui arrive et que nous remercions très très chaleureusement pour son accueil au sein de son univers. Enfin, nous remercions ceux qui nous soutiennent depuis la première heure, les membres du conseil scientifique de l'association et nos partenaires, la Fondation ID Kids, Wesco, McCain, Lawson, le Centre de psychoéducation du Québec, l'Association québécoise des centres de la petite enfance, l'OCDE. La musique que nous avons partagée avant de commencer, nous fédère sur un axe, celui de donner la chance à chaque enfant de suivre un parcours inclusif et épanouissant. Cet événement s'inscrit dans la continuité des messages clés tirés du Congrès international de 2016, les actions majeures de la petite enfance, ceux du rapport de l'OCDE dont parlera Yuri Belfali plus tard, Starting Strong 5, de la stratégie interministérielle française à la prévention et la lutte contre la pauvreté des enfants et des jeunes, et les 17 objectifs de développement durable d'ici 2030. Nous avons enfin préparé un programme interactif, dense, très dense, riche de messages courts et j'espère percutants, partagés entre 62 experts, et nous allons tenter de vous faire vivre des expériences enrichissantes en répondant aux 8 questions posées dans les sessions qui nous encourageront à relever quelques défis. Alors, je vous souhaite un très grand partage d'ocytocine et un merveilleux congrès. Je vais présenter maintenant Merci Gabriela. J'ai l'honneur et la grande joie de présenter Madame Gabriela Ramos, qui va vous adresser la bienvenue. Madame Ramos est la directrice de cabinet du secrétaire général de l'OCDE et Sherpa pour le G20. En plus de soutenir l'agenda stratégique du secrétaire général, Gabriela Ramos est responsable des contributions de l'organisation à l'agenda mondial. Elle dirige le Inclusive Growth Initiative and the New Approaches to Economic Challenges et supervise également les travaux sur l'éducation, l'emploi et les affaires sociales. Merci de l'applaudir.
Good morning, and thank you for coming. Welcome to the OECD. What you don't know is that Natalie and I are in the club of mutual admiration. But let me tell you that I'm so glad to see you all. I'm so glad to open this second Early Childhood Action Congress, organized together with the Ensemble for Education. And let me tell you that we have just launched during last week in our ministerial meeting in policy framework for inclusive growth, for action on inclusive growth. As Natalie said, I'm overseeing that work. And I can tell you that if there is a single policy that could make the difference to build inclusive society, is this one. And I'm so glad to have our distinguished invitees joining us, Your Excellency Jamela Bent Salem Al-Muhairi, welcome. But all of you that are coming from different places, that are really engaged in this agenda, we want to learn from you, we want to hear from you. You come from different angles to the same agenda. Yuri, thank you for all the work. You are not only leading the charge in the OECD, but I know you're very passionate about this topic. And we are all. Today, I'm going to launch also another report of the OECD which deals with mobility, social mobility. And again, if you go, I mean, you can go for tax issues, you can go for labor issues, you can go for employment and jobs and family policies, but the single most important element is taking a look at the early childhood and what do we do with our young kids and how do we actually pave the way for them to overcome the disadvantages that some of our children are facing in life. The theme of the conference, Transition to School Equity, Quality and Innovation, I think is right on target. These three concepts, equity, quality, and innovation in the early education context can define a child's future because all three contribute to and are necessary for a child to have the best possible chances in life. We all know, all of your countries have made a lot of efforts in terms of increasing expenditures for education, but that's not enough. We really need to ensure that it's quality, and we need to ensure that it reaches those that need the most. As we know, the 5 years of children's life are significantly formative. During this period, children learn at a faster rate than any other time in their lives. They develop crucial cognitive and social-emotional skills that they will need throughout the childhood and which will serve them the whole life as adults. A balanced set of cognitive, social, and emotional skills is essential to succeed in school, find a good job, be physically and mentally fit, participate in society, be happy, which is important, but also build more cohesive, understanding societies. I think that's one of the elements that we should also have in mind because it's not only material well-being we care about, it's the whole issues of having cohesive and tolerant societies. A 5-year-old level of language, numeracy, fine motor skills, and social skills are predictive of their later outcomes in terms of employment, income, educational attainment, and health. Their conditions at an early age of this dimension mark the trajectory that will define their future. In this context, promoting child well-being is fundamental for the OECD efforts to promote inclusive growth and more equitable societies. Just listen to some of the facts that we have been coming through all this work. 1 child in seven lives in relative income poverty, and child poverty has increased in 2/3 of OECD countries since the Great Recession. And these are the most advanced economies. What can we say about developing countries, low-income country, Africa, Latin America? There's so many kids living in deprivation. I think this is just the starting point that we just need to fight and to try to advance a better agenda for children. And research shows that children from disadvantaged families are more likely to underachieve in and out in school. Gaps widen as children move up to the school systems. Children who experience poverty and material deprivation are less likely than other children to do well at school, to live in good quality housing, to enjoy good health, or to realize their potential later in life. They accumulate disadvantages. And this is the conclusion of our inclusive growth initiative. You have people, the bottom of the income distribution, even almost 40% of our population are just accumulating disadvantages. They start by income, low quality education, low quality jobs, and then you go on, and we need to break this circle of deprivation. Even more worrisome is that child poverty can damage brain development and reduce learning outcomes later in life. For example, children growing up in poor neighborhoods and from lower income families in the US may hear up to 30 million fewer words than their affluent counterparts by age 3. And 3 million words, of course, you hear them, you will go and talk and you're stimulated or not. The fact is that they also represent how much the neural and the brain development is advancing at an appropriate rate. One way to significantly decrease later gaps in achievement is to provide enriching learning experiences to children well before they enter school, and this is where the public policies can really make the difference. A child that belongs to a house that cares about him, that is investing in him, that is stimulating him, has, of course, needs to go to early child care education. But those that don't have that at home need it 3 times. So I think this is one of the most important tools that we have to even the playing fields. Results from the PISA assessment, that is also another program from the OECD and that Yuri runs, shows that strong start in education through quality early childhood and care is associated with higher performance in adolescence, even accounting for a student's socioeconomic status. So our message is, yes, invest in early child care education and care. Invest and look for quality outcomes and try to advance this agenda more than anything. Countries are increasingly investing in EdSec. Between 1988 and 2011, public expenditure on childcare and preschool increased on average by more than 50% across OECD countries. Enrollment rates in pre-primary school rose from 52% of 3 years old in 2005 to 72% in 2013. However, on average, only 1/3 of children below age 3 are covered by formal care services. This leaves room for more investments, and early investments pay off. $1 invested in high-quality programs before the age of 5 yields a cumulative annual return of 13% at age 65, and those benefits are especially large for children from disadvantaged background. We at the OECD are already helping countries to improve their provision of EdSec. It is important to ensure quality and equitable access to this provision. Of course, this might require innovation, and we look forward to your discussions. But this should be part of a broader efforts to give children the best start possible, as I said, reducing poverty and many other policies that are beyond education that needs to come into bear when dealing with children. To have maximum impact, it's important to have data. This is really key to the policy making, and of course the OECD countries are pretty advanced, but we need to advance also for low and developing countries. We have looked at many dimensions of child well-being and child policies in our report, Doing Better for Children. We have included children in our series of House Life, and our recent work on integrating migrant children into education find a strong relationship between the early learning opportunities for those children and their later success in their new countries. We have also provided countries with guidance and information on EdSec systems and policies across the world through our Starting Strong series. And I know Natalie is a fan of those series. I hope you will join her in her love for this program. But there are still information gaps, such as the actual experiences of different groups of children. We are working with countries looking at children's emotional and social development alongside such key early cognitive development as language or communication. And also we count on you for those intangibles, because there are things we can measure, the things we cannot measure. All the intangibles in terms of what happened with children live in families that have high level of stress. How can we think that they are going to take advantage of anything if they have an environment that is really putting a lot of tension and a lot of conflict into their own thinking and development. So we are really looking at how to advance better understanding of child's emotional and social skills development from the beginning in school right through the teenage years. These will open, we hope, the black box of how children develop essential skills such as trust and empathy, critical for a cooperative, peaceful world. And I think this is the most important element of all this agenda. These, of course, will help governance offset the challenging home and societal circumstances that affect many children and young people. Finally, the OECD has also launched the first international survey of ESSEC settings, the TALIS Starting Strong survey. This survey will tell us about the early learning environments of young children, but also about the perspectives and beliefs of teachers that participate at this level, the challenges they face, and the approaches and practices they use. But it's also important to have conferences like this to learn from you, to share experiences, ideas, and research. They say that it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a collective effort to build a high-quality exec system. We need good data, good policies, but more than anything, we need goodwill. We need commitment. We need the convincing power that you bring to this agenda. And that's how I want to finish my initial remarks, thanking you for being here, thanking you for sharing your thoughts, and inviting you to build together a powerful force to improve the outcome for children. Thank you very much.
Merci infiniment. J'ai l'honneur maintenant et la joie d'appeler son Excellence Jamila bin Salem Al-Mouari, ministre de l'Éducation aux Émirats Arabes Unis, à venir me rejoindre pour son message. Merci.
Very good morning and bonjour. Excuse-moi, je ne vais pas parler en français. It is my honor. It is my honor to be here with you today. I thank His Excellency, Secretary General of OECD, for extending the invitation to participate in the second International Early Childhood Action Congress. It is a pleasure to meet experts in the field, and I look forward to the framework for action that will inform transition practice. When thinking about my speech for today, I wonder what people might know about my country, United Arab Emirates. You must probably have heard about Abu Dhabi or Dubai. A few of you might have visited my beautiful country. Some of you might have heard of Louvre opening in Abu Dhabi. What you might not know, it's our vision or our journey we have taken to improve our education system, including the early childhood sector. Early childhood education is one of our government top priority, and it's highlighted in my personal work as a minister. We have been working very hard to change our focus from promoting access to improving quality and ensuring an alignment between all entities in charge of early childhood development. Our journey is to shape by our effort to redefine what is quality care and education, and to keep up with our demands as a young and dynamic nation. We also aim to ensure that our people are the happiest in the world. One of the main objectives in the UAE Strategy 2071 is to achieve equity and quality early childhood development service for all our children, although we are now speaking in the in UAE about the fourth industrial revolution requirement, we should not forget the fact that it was only 46 years ago that the UAE united as a country, a time when most of the people in this room were already born. 1971 is the year our nation was founded. We are thankful that from the start, our visionary leader, bless his soul, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, believed in the importance of educating boys and girls equally. 46 years later, we are now enjoying very diverse educational system that takes care of children from birth till they graduate from university and continue their lifelong education. Our system is far from perfect, and we have our own challenges, but we have managed to create the perfect partnership between public and private providers. Our providers offer education experience that range from being equal to the best in the world to some which require major development. We are trying to build the best model possible in the public education sector and attract some of the best private providers from around the world. From nursery like Bilabou to school like George Pompidou, French school and Canadian school or American school in Dubai. Our student population have a choice of 17 different school curricula. In addition of 3 national universities in the UAE, we were able to form a partnership and attract universities like Sorbonne, INSEAD, and New York University. In 1973, we started focusing on raising the profile of early childhood education with just seven public kindergarten. Currently, we have reached 94% enrollment rate with both boys and girls equally represented. Increasing access has never been enough. Our effort to improve quality in the early childhood sector started in the 90s with partnership with UNICEF. By working together, we were able to introduce a new child-centered, play-based, integrated curriculum aligned to the most up-to-date information about brain development at the time. We are now looking at more integrated approach to early childhood development for children from birth to 8 by working very closely with the 3 main ministers in charge for early childhood: Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Community Development. The clear roles and responsibility and governance structure will allow us to work together to define quality service. In our effort to define quality, we look at the latest research. We meet experts like you and education leaders from around the world to learn from them. We also look back at our past and reflect on journey that has allowed us to achieve so much in such short time. During this Congress, we are all focusing on transition. In the UAE, this is an area which has been defined as being very important to the well-being of our children and their future success in school, in life. We think of a transition children make as they move from home to early childhood center and then from the center to the formal education in grade 1. Not only that, we are reflecting on a transition for children with additional individual needs, especially children of determination. In the UAE, we use this term to describe children with special need, children of determination. I will leave this scientific evidence and suggestion on how we manage effective transition to you, but allow me to reflect on what we have learned as a people of UAE. My reflection on the transition that individuals and communities have made from the old way of life into modern life might give you an insight into how we are trying to manage this very important topic in our country. One of my earliest memories, which is stuck with me, is when I was a child. We used to visit my grandmother on a weekend. I used to wake up very early in the morning to sit next to her. And she baked khamir, very traditional bread. You can think of it, make du pain with your grandmother. She used to tell me stories about her life as a young girl. And even though I was a young, she would share her wisdom with me, what she learned, how she felt. She likes to tell me her stories because she did not usually have much chance to do so in the presence of my grandfather, since everyone felt that his story about his adventure and pearl diving were much more interesting. Of course, all I really appreciate back then was to use the last piece of leftover dough that would then make a small piece of bread baked specially for me. This moment made me feel very special. When I reflect and I think about it, what had happened, and now I understand how we did it in UAE. Transition are about change, and successful transition are about moving smoothly through the change. The story of me with my grandmother summarizes what helped us to accept change. The feeling of security and nurture I felt when I was with my grandmother reflect the importance of social and emotional well-being. This was, as is, very important in our culture, and we depend on very caring extended family to offer all the support to each other and to the children in particular. The long conversation with my grandmother meant the knowledge was naturally shared from generation to generation through strong personalized communication. The sense of belonging I felt when I was with her reflect the very strong relationship we created within the community. Everybody was responsible for raising children. The importance of creating partnership between all stakeholders to ensure acceptance of change. Allow me to add one more component to this point. It is a culture thing. As a nation, we are very open to change and we accept it. When we start thinking of improving our management of the smooth transition of our children within the system, we had all three elements in mind. First, the importance of ensuring the emotional well-being of our children to equip them to cope with change. Second, the importance of all stakeholders working together, parents, caregivers in early childhood center, teacher in the kindergarten, and teacher in lower primary. Our goal is for each entity to be ready for our children. Third, the most important, communication. We need to know more about each child in order to provide all the support required. Lastly, the know-how. We need to learn more about what works, how we can measure it, and we need a framework to create sustainable system which will allow us for smooth transition. In the UAE, we are currently planning an impact evaluation project with the World Bank. That it's directly linked to transition into primary school. We will study the impact of introducing developmentally appropriate practice in grade 1 and 2, and establish proper links between the KG and primary. This will help measure the impact of our intervention and highlight what works. As for the framework of action, this Congress could not have come at a better time. I wish you all a very successful event and take this opportunity to remind me and yourself that we are here to serve our people and humanity as a whole. As our leader, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, said, we are building a new reality for our people, a new future for our children, and a new model of development. And thank you so much, and have a great Congress, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. Pourrais-je ajouter que vous êtes la première femme nommée à ce poste? Et c'est un grand honneur de vous accueillir. Madame Stefania Giannini est sous-directrice générale de l'UNESCO pour l'éducation depuis mai 2018. À ce poste, elle accompagne une vision stratégique et un leadership au secteur de l'éducation de l'UNESCO, en coordonnant et en surveillant la mise en œuvre de l'agenda 2030 dans l'éducation. Elle nous a adressé une vidéo que nous allons écouter.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I'm pleased to be here virtually with you today to say a few words at this very important Congress organized by the OECD at the Ensemble for Early Childhood Education. UNESCO and the OECD are long-standing partners in the area of early child care and education. One example of this is a survey of teachers in pre-primary education joint initiative. Transition from early childhood to school is a major preoccupation, a major relevant issue for UNESCO, as the United Nations agency, entrust to lead the Global Education 2030 agenda, which is the basic framework we are moving on. Currently, nowadays, 69 more or less % of children worldwide attend organized early learning, 1 year preceding the official primary school entry age. But stark disparities still exist in access to pre-primary education, and in particular with children in the poorest countries, in the poorest households. We have clear evidence. Ensuring children's positive transition from early childhood to primary education is of relevant, utmost importance in encouraging them to continue education, to learn successfully and become contributing members of our society. We have seen from practice that investing in quality early childhood is a critical starting point to create a very dynamic of life learning across the life cycle. This is clearly expressed in the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is where we have a strong mandate from the United Nations, which embraces universal access to quality early childhood education by 2030. And this is one of its 10 global targets. I wish to highlight three key messages from UNESCO's Education 2030 Framework for Action. They're all three closely related to the theme of the Congress, I think, and I hope they can help inform discussions. Well, first, early childhood experiences from birth and even from conception affect and shape children's competencies at primary schools and beyond. Children's school readiness should therefore not be considered as a specific matter at the time of school entry or transition. Second, child readiness for school should not be narrowly considered equivalent with early literacy and numeracy skills. It should be rather considered the holistic development of a child's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical needs. That means to make children to become aware adults later in their life. Third and last point, schools' readiness for children is an equally integral part of a successful transition. And when schools are in some way ready to welcome children of all backgrounds and abilities, all children everywhere, and when schools are equipped with the appropriate pedagogies, educational policies, teachers well trained, children are set on a positive learning trajectory, direction. So I invite you to keep these 3 simple messages in mind as you walk through the different sections of the Congress. And if you want also to reflect together on how they can be translated into reality, to action plans, into national policies in different national and local contexts. And so I wish you really a successful Congress, a successful debate, and I'm sure that we'll have very fresh ideas. We can also take advantage of them. Thank you so much.